Hey everybody, it's Matt Michaels, Sin City Steve, Simon Street here on the Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting, and this is our three count for this week. DJ Impact is still in the middle of the MGM Grand here in Las Vegas looking for his fuzzy slippers he lost this weekend, but hopefully he'll find them and be back with us next week. We're going to start off this week with our first count, and this is a story that is basically taking everyone by storm, and it's giving opinions that are both both extremes of you know people hating on this, whether it be because of his actions or because of the product essentially sucking when he was essentially in charge, and that is Vince McMahon takes action in support of plan for WWE to undertake a review of strategic alternatives and capture unique opportunity to maximize long-term value for all shareholders. This news broke on, I believe, January 5th, and as of yesterday, it looks like Vince is now back in control here. Um, but it does say Vince McMahon, the founder and controlling shareholder of World Wrestling Entertainment, announced today that he has taken necessary actions to position the company to capitalize on a unique opportunity to maximize long term value for all WWE shareholders. The actions communicated to the WWE's board of directors today via written consent include the election to the board of Mr. McMahon, as well as Michelle Wilson and George Barrios, former WWE co-presidents and board members, and currently the co-founders and CEOs of Isos Capital Management, and the requisite removal from the board of three directors. Mr. McMahon expects to assume the role of executive chairman of the board. The new role will enable him to make unified decisions through the company's upcoming media rights negotiations and a parallel full review of the company's strategic alternatives, which Mr. McMahon believes is the right course of action and in the best interest of WWE and WWE shareholders amidst the current dynamics in the media and entertainment industry. As Mr. McMahon has communicated to the board, he believes there is a narrow window of opportunity to create significant value for all shareholders, and that to do so, the strategic alternatives review must occur in tandem with the media rights negotiations. He also expressed to the board that he believes these two initiatives require Mr. McMahon's direct participation, leadership, and support as controlling shareholder. Quote, WWE is entering a crucial juncture in its history with the upcoming media rights negotiations coinciding with increased industry wide demand for quality content and live events, and with more companies seeking to own the intellectual property on their platforms, said Mr. McMahon. The only way for WWE to fully capitalize on this opportunity is for me to return as the executive chairman and support the management team in the negotiations for our media rights, and to combine that with a review of strategic alternatives. My return will allow WWE as well as any transaction counterparties to engage in the processes, knowing they will have the support of the controlling shareholder. This is a long article, goes on, but this is again, all basically set through the idea that Vince is the controlling shareholder in the company. And again, the move was made just this past weekend, and now Vince is back in control of the board itself. I'm going to go to you, Simon Street, first, and or actually, Sin City Steve. Let me go to you first, and um, you know, first off, your take on this, but also, you know, with his removal, and there was a certain person that you happen to appreciate a lot in a company that was started by this guy. And Tony Khan, I believe, was, I don't know, needling Mr. Vince McMahon about Tony being the longest CEO currently in pro wrestling. So, not only Vince coming back and the aspects of this, but how does this affect Tony Khan and what they're doing in AEW?
So one thing that's really funny that you mentioned with that is Tony actually tweeted out something the day that the news came out that Vince was back, and he was at least self-aware, and he mentioned how cordial everyone was to him at work that day, and I found it extremely funny. But the fact is, who couldn't have seen this coming from a mile away? Seriously, Vince McMahon is the controlling shareholder. Okay, that's fine. So he's going to name himself to the board of directors with the stipulation that he's going to be there to oversee a sale. Now, obviously, he has to deem that sale being worthy. What are the odds that this is all a work? And now Vince has moved on from trying to work the marks to trying to work Wall Street and trying to work investors. Who says that he's ever going to sell? Because obviously he has to, give the go ahead to sell. I think that's one thing that is kind of getting lost in the shuffle here. Now, obviously, in the last couple of days, things have been, things have come out where they're, working towards a sale and things of that nature, which at the end of the day, I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know if this is going to take place, but the thing that I can tell you is everybody in the wrestling world is watching this particular news story because everyone else sees the writing on the wall. Just because Vince installs himself in the board of directors, removes two people that were leading the investigation into the hush money claims, and then two more resign out of protest. Gee, I wonder if anything's going to happen from this latest scandal. Obviously, probably not. And to quote a really good friend of mine, the elites work on a much different playing field than the rest of us do. If this was any other person, if this was anyone outside of the elite ruling class, he would have already been in jail. They would have expedited things. They would have gotten him fast tracked. We would already be hearing about arraignments and all sorts of craziness. But because it's Vince McMahon, seemingly he can do no wrong and he's above the law. And quite frankly, until legal action happens, he is, sadly.
Yeah, so I agree. He does need to run for president in 2024. Simon Street, I think that what we're seeing on the internet reaction, kind of to take it away from what Steve was going at, and to bring it into the idea of here's a guy who has these charges against him, of course, and people are mad about that. But I think, oddly enough, the typical wrestling fan is more concerned with the idea that Vince McMahon will make the product shitty again. And it's very interesting because obviously this is not regarding Triple H is still head of creative. Exactly. That is still in place, and Stephanie is still the basically the underling CEO. So, how do you, as a fan, look at those other fans out there who think that as soon as the word Vince McMahon appears and it ties in with any type of taking back power in the WWE, that everyone all of a sudden hits apeshit crazy that this is the worst thing in the world and the product itself is doomed in that sense. And then if you want to elaborate, that's fine as well.
Well, first and foremost, I think a lot of people Although they are entitled to their opinions, sometimes their opinions are devoid of some factual, grounding. With that in mind, if you go into a goddamn store and for years you've been buying the same type of Arizona tea for the longest time, and you walk in there the next day and all of a sudden they don't have that type of Arizona tea, you don't go to the goddamn dude you've been seeing for 15, 20 years and say, hey, why the fuck you don't have the Graham Arizona tea they have for the last 5 years? Duh, he doesn't have anything to do with why you don't have that Arizona tea. I make that example because unfortunately sometimes people who consume the product, they don't understand the whole entire scope of the business, right? Vince McMahon doesn't need to run operations. He got the right people in place to handle that. We've seen a lot of upside to that. It seems to be in good mode for that. I will say what is very important is that Vince McMahon is placing himself in a situation to be able to number one, be where he's most needed at. I think he has more examples of these deals, particularly with the signing the TV rights. This man knows it to the point to where sports has patterned their decisions off of the decisions that Vince McMahon has made in the past. So why would you not have him there? In fact, give the man something to do, because I don't want him to die because he's bored at home. I'm just being real. You got to give an old man something to do, and this is what he's good at. So I say to all these wrestling fans, to answer your question, Matt Michaels, he's not going to touch nothing. Y'all calm the hell down. You got a better chance of having John Cena grow back the hair he lost in the top of the bald spot of his head that he has before Vince McMahon comes back and running the WWE. However, I will say this. I like what Sin City said. It could be a work, which is cute. Because at the end of the day, Wall Street is a big work in itself. Wall Street is calling smoke in the air, but never having a fire. And you see 1,000 people with money in their bank making decisions. So at the end of the day, why would you not send Mr. No Chance in Hell? It's perfect. Welcome to America.
You both made really good points. I'll take really quick here. One, small leap of the company, if sold. Obviously for years, Disney has been, of course, rumored. NBC Universal would be a big rumored thing. But wouldn't it just be interesting if Warner Brothers Discovery bought the WWE? I think Mr. Tony Khan would be shitting himself at that point, because there goes that TV deal and there goes everything you worked towards. And all it took was for them to just go, it's time to sell. But the interesting thing that was said by McMahon was the idea that people want the distribution rights to the product. So to go along with both of you on this idea of a Wall Street work, there's your work. They're not selling the company. They're selling the rights deal at a way higher price, because of the fact that every streaming platform right now is going to want to have that in their library. And NBC, the Peacock needs this product. If they take it away from Peacock, they are fucked. So that drives up the fucking rights deal for Peacock to need to retain it. Also, interestingly enough, Vince McMahon has pretty much had a lifelong relationship with that company, being Universal USA when they took that over. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Listen, the other big news while we were away was that Bill Cosby himself is planning to do a fucking tour coming up. Live tour. So, you know, it's guys like you said, Steve, guys like Trump, guys like Cosby, guys like McMahon. They could do whatever the fuck they want, get away with it. And yet Harvey Weinstein sits in jail. It's just unfair.
Yeah, but he has an upcoming documentary movie on that. I can't wait to watch that one.
See? There you go. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and I think everyone needs to calm the fuck down and let these guys make their money. And you know what? Unfortunately, Simon Street, Vince will be dead soon anyway. So unless Vince starts a new company with Ric Flair as his champion.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah, it's called the Never Die, Never Sleep, Never Slow Down.
Oh man! All right, count number 2. WWE's non-compete clauses might be in legal jeopardy. This is coming from comicbook.com. WWE's standard contracts for their wrestlers include a new no complete clause where the wrestler cannot work for another major wrestling promotion for 90 days. But it appears that might be outlawed in the near future, according to a new proposal from the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. On Thursday, they announced that a ban on non-competes has been proposed, citing that it suppresses wages, hampers innovation, and blocks entrepreneurs from starting new businesses, before noting it could potentially increase wages up to $300 billion per year and expand career opportunities for 30 million U.S. citizens. The FTC voted 3-1 to publish its notice of proposed rulemaking, the first step in potentially making non-compete contracts illegal and voiding that stipulation from all current contracts. Whether or not this could affect the WWE and other pro wrestling promotions remains to be seen, as wrestlers typically operate as independent contractors rather than employees. Stay tuned for more updates as they come available. Quote, the freedom to change jobs is the core to economic liberty and to a competitive, thriving economy. Lena Khan, no relation to either Tony or Nick, stated in the FTC's press release. Non-competes block workers from freely switching jobs, depriving them of higher wages and better working conditions, and depriving businesses of a talent pool that they need to build and expand. By ending this practice, the FTC's proposed rule would promote greater dynamicism, innovation, and healthy competition. So, Simon Street, I'll go to you first on this one. No competes. We've seen it for years and years and years in WWE. Does it really make a difference if these no competes are taken away?
Well, the interesting thing enough is not so much just in relation to what we talk about, obviously wrestling, because it's a wrestling podcast, but just in the overall scope of contracted workers, particularly 1099 contract workers. This is interesting for me to have to say, because this kind of goes a little bit in my line of work. I am a 1099 contracted worker, and I do have an NDA that I have signed. If I were to leave the company that I am with, I have a certain extended long period of time before I can go within the field that I have expertise in. This directly goes into what you had said earlier in this article of suppressing wages, because you basically are temporarily banned from doing anything in the field that you have expertise in. And as far as like trade secrets and whatnot, there are things within an NDA and even outside of an NDA to where you would not have to share trade secrets per se. It's frowned upon in business, but in a wrestling thing, this would definitely change the landscape, because now you're going to have more incentives to get people to stay from a company standpoint. It's going to be even more to where you no longer have that holding pattern. So you can see people jump ship for whatever reason they want, well, that means that companies are going to be restructured 100% from the ground up. Do I think it's good for the wrestler that instead of having to, find something else to do in the meantime while you're sitting at home waiting? Because we all know the wrestling business is how much you save, not how much you make. And so at least now you'll be able to look at, okay, if my contract is up with WWE or it's been terminated, I can then go to an AEW or I go to Impact or New Japan, whatever the case may be. I don't have to wait that longer period of time. Do I think it's good? Yeah, I think it's good. And the reason why I'll say I think it's good is because I think that everybody should have the right to be able to work in the field that they want to work. But most importantly, which was not really mentioned in here, it breeds what America was built on: innovation, competition. Because when you have people that can go and start their own business within the field that they started, that gives you competition. You never know if you give birth to someone that is going to be your future competition, which gives you an opportunity to make your company great either again or great in the next decade. I'll leave it at that, gentlemen.
Steve, when you think of the no compete clause, let's face it. What Simon just said is very true from the sense of the greater aspect of business. But when it comes to professional wrestling, we're talking 30, 60, or 90-day no completes. So does this really even matter?
So here's my thing is I think that how the government's going to do things. They're going to make one giant swath and they're either going to make all non-competes go away or, this is just going to fall off the table. Realistically speaking, what I think is something that needs to be noted. There are certain things that, privileged information is given to individuals in companies that is confidential, that is non-public, that is, designed for confidential reasons. And, you can call it protecting the brand. You can call it whatever you'd like. But the fact is, if let's say somebody knows that something is going to release in 60 days and, they leave, whatever the situation is, and they don't have a non-compete, then they can go right straight to the main competitor and say, hey, I worked on this. This is exactly what's going to roll out very shortly. And what do you guys want to do? How do you want to beat this before they even take it to market? More than anything, what I think that this does is this may actually start the conversation that needs to be had in the world of pro wrestling, in that independent contractors and having their entire career run by WWE, you're not going to be able to do that and still label somebody as an independent contractor. If somebody is going to be an employee to a company, then they will have to be an employee. They won't be able to have this independent contractor status and have all the rights and protections that WWE won't be able to have the dominion over all of these people. I think that this starts that conversation, and that's what comes down to pass.
Okay, so the problem, and this is the biggest problem in all of this, is that what Simon described is the business structure aspect of things, an actual business, kind of what you were saying too with trade secrets, right? The WWE, AEW, any wrestling company, the problem is this: they actually are entertainment companies. And California passed their jackass bill about independent contractors trying to, make rights, better rights for people who did gig economy jobs, but it was a blanket. And guess what? That's the entertainment industry. And so all those actors who could write off things, who, are not famous actors, we're talking people who are making, less than $100,000 a year off of acting. They couldn't write off costumes. They couldn't write off mileage for auditions, etc. That's a problem. The biggest problem is that they're not employees. They're performers. They don't have a 9 to 5 office job. They don't get trade secrets. Now, someone like a production designer who leaves WWE and goes over to AEW, okay, that's fair. That's fair because that's the trade secrets. They might be debuting a new set that no one knows about, or have a new innovation in a camera or something like that. That's fine because then they can bring that with them over to the new company and try to beat them, in terms of the brand and the product. But in terms of a performer, who gives a fuck if Sting is going to be debuting with his new tag team partner, in 2 weeks, and then he jumps over to WWE, and this is the problem with this whole independent contracting needs to be restructured, period.
Completely. And I think that this will help to usher that in,
but only if it's counter to the division of performers versus actual employees, meaning you can't qualify. A performer can never be an employee because when you take a job on a movie set, you're hired for 6 days. You're hired for 6 weeks. Whatever that length of the contract is, as soon as it's up, that's it. And you move on to the next job. And with this, being a no compete clause, that's why it makes no sense. We as wrestling fans, or those as wrestling journalists, put so much emphasis on, oh my God, he's got 90 days and then he's going to be blah, 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 blah. Doesn't fucking matter if he had fucking 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, because it never goes higher than 90 days. And guess what? Does it really affect anything? No, because you're just bringing in a new character to your show. It's a product of a show. And, that's the problem, is that this industry, entertainment-based industries, need a new definition of what an independent contractor is to keep it separate from the Instacarts and the Grubhubs, from the stuff Simon was talking about in terms of trade secrets. It's asinine that the government lumps everything together, and it will never break because people are just too fucking dumb to change shit the right way. So
I wanted to just quickly add something, if it was okay, gentlemen. Yep. With regards to this, the one thing I thought of that I didn't get a chance to speak on is that it does come down to, at a certain point, about, like I said before, incentives. Benefits is the number one thing that a contractor does not have. So outside of the entertainer's part, obviously, right, as the contract, there should be a limit to what is qualifying a person as a contractor and what qualifies a person to be entitled to an offer to be a full-time. Because at the end of the day, if you're just getting money because you're on for 6 days, I see what you're saying, right? But they can recoup the cost for certain things for that 6 day. Does that make sense?
But that's a different problem. That is what a union's for. And
True.
There's your problem.
Yep,
see, in acting, you have a union, and it fucking does that shit. In wrestling, they don't have a union, and that still pisses me off that SAG has never spoke up and tried to bat for these guys who are fucking television stars. So, don't put the conflict. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a very valid fucking thing, that in this realm, it really, they need a fucking union, and that's what would help them and help these types of situations. All right, let's go to count 3. This comes from Sportskeeda. Thank you for everything. Liv Morgan, Sasha Banks, Nikita Lyons, and other popular WWE superstars react to current stars' emotional post. WWE superstars including Liv Morgan, Zelina Vega, Naomi, Sasha Banks, JC Jane, Brianna Brandy, Nikita Lyons, Aaliyah, Carmella, and many more have recently reacted to Natalia's emotional post on social media. Taking to Instagram, Natty recently uploaded a few photos of herself alongside Cora Jade, Banks, Carmella, Morgan, Zelina, Naomi, Sasha. This article just likes putting names to fucking just stretch this fucking thing
Oh
out.
yeah,
This-
dude, you got to hit the algorithm so you show up in the search results.
That's exactly what it is. We should copy and paste some of these names.
Natalia mentioned how difficult it was for her to step away from the ring, but added that it helped her understand better. The superstars were full of praise and support for the current star. They appreciated the latter for contributing to the business and being one of the kindest people in WWE. Natalia did post, this whole thing would collapse if you just go out there and think of yourself. It's been my view my entire career to give back whenever I can, new talent, established talent, top of the card or not. I wanted to make sure the business that runs through my family's veins is there even stronger after I'm done with it. This past year has been incredible. I somehow ended up with 3 Guinness World Records, and it wasn't for having the longest fingernails or eating the most hot dogs in 10 minutes. It was for a massive body of work in WWE, 15 years of uninterrupted work, a whole lot of insanity. And then she goes on, it was a hard decision to step away this November. She'd work through anything usually. She always had injuries, deaths, tragedies, etc. Taking a break for the first time gave me a chance to reflect on what this all means to me. The time away has helped her just kind of piece together her own massive jigsaw puzzle and define what success in our business is and what success in her own personal life is. Attaining longevity while cultivating the future is like the pat your head and rub your stomach trick. Not many can do it, but I'm very grateful to be someone who can. She's excited to wrestle in 2023 for women's wrestling as well. And she always wants to make it a top priority to continue to tribute as much to women in this sport and to give back to all the women who gave to her. Women who inspire me to earn my spot every time I walk through the curtain. You never know which little girl you're going to inspire. Simon Street, this was your article. What do you take away from this? And what is the thing that brought you to this?
Well, the one thing I thought I brought away from it was, give people flowers while they're here. And I don't mean it in the sense of just the life and the, that Natalia still has physically walking around, but career wise, right? Natalia has given really so much, not just sweat equity in WWE, but she is the big reason why so many of the great names in the evolution of women's wrestling came about. I mean, Charlotte Flair, if she was right here, would tell you that off the top of her head. Sasha Banks would say that, Bailey would say that, Bianca Belair, the list goes on. I'm sure we could make an algorithm, as Sin City Steve said, but I felt it was necessary to bring about a different type of topic for us where we're giving flowers to somebody, because women's wrestling is, at least on the Western front, is really starting to build momentum to come out of the past that we remember it as, handprints on boobies and mud wrestling and bathroom breaks. Yeah, I'm being honest. You only had few and far between female, wrestlers who were actually worth saying that, hey, they were actually like wrestlers. So Natalia's a huge part of that, and so I just think it was great that a lot of people chimed in on it. I do like that she stated in Twitter, who said anything about me retiring, which was great, because at first it did sound like she was going to retire. And like I said, there's probably some other things in her personal life that she wants to do. So I just wanted to share it. get you guys' thoughts and people listening to the podcast as well. Thank you so much, Natty, for everything you've done, and don't want to immediately see you leave.
Sin City, what's your take on Natty Neidhart?
So I think that Natty really helped to bridge the previous era from as Simon had just mentioned to where we are today, and I think that she's really, really underrated in what she helped to bring about within WWE. There are people that are going to be, that get all the glory, and there are those that, were extremely selfless and set those people up so that they could get the glory. I think that Natty's accomplishments in the ring will, her accolades in the ring, I should say, overshadow excuse me, her accomplishments for everything that she's done outside of the ring. They're not going to get the attention that they deserve, and it's a shame. Obviously Natty is somebody that has built a legacy in WWE, and if you look at all the people that spoke up and commented on this post and shared what Natty meant to them, and it's astounding. It's very astounding, and I think that I don't think that this is the end, but she said that she's looking forward to wrestling this year. Great. I think that there's still plenty of gas left in the tank. But yes, the way that post was set up, it seemed almost like I'm going to dip my toes into the thought of possibly walking away, which I don't think that, if she's in a space where she feels comfortable doing that, then that's fine. But she doesn't need to walk away yet.
Yeah, she's been there 15 years. She has earned the right to take time off. Quite simple. And if she wanted to walk away, who can blame her? If her and TJ are set, then great. She can make absolute money off of her cats, because the cats have a huge following on the internet. Her sister has an OnlyFans, so you could probably see, if Natty wanted to retire, she could probably do stuff with her sister for OnlyFans, and they could do a lot of money that way.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Wow.
All right then.
I'm just saying there's more to love. That's all.
But the true thing that we have to thank Natalya for is the development of great talent in female division over the years, like Lana and Eva Marie and Carmella and Aaliyah. Without Natty, those women wouldn't be possible. And thank you very much.
That was good.
All right. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Again, catch us on our live stream next Sunday, 8 p.m. Pacific time. And we will be heading out of here right now. Simon Street, any final thoughts?
Pretty much, y'all. It's a new year. It's time for us to do some new things. You don't have to be a new person. Just make some new moves, and you never know where that'll take you. Follow your dreams, and things will work out. You'll see.
And Sin City Steve.
All right. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all the stuff that you guys do week in and week out. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you. Very special shout out and thank you to all the brave men and women serving this country, whether you're doing it on lands foreign or domestic. Thank you for doing what you do so that we can do what we love to do. And last but not least, repsports.com, reppsports.com. Go there for all your pre-workout, weight loss, and general energy needs. Again, that's repsports.com. Use promo code Vegas at checkout. Save yourself 15%.
There you go. And, I'm going to say, if you haven't, catch the Defile Files this past week to hear a little bit about Joe DeFalco talk about Phil Baroni, the ex-MMA star who was arrested for the murder of his ex-girlfriend down in Mexico this past week, and was a wrestler who trained at FSW, and just some strange times to have Stephan Bonnar pass away. Just 2 weeks ago, and the next week, Phil, who did run a little bit with Stephan in the years, arrested for murdering his ex. So check out that and all the uplifting stories that we provide along those lines every week on the DeFalco Files. Once again, we will be back next week, and thank you all for tuning in. And everyone, until next time, happy wrestling.